Hi, my name's Kevin, but you can call me Trippy. I'd like to welcome you to my multiplayer playthrough of Wargame European Escalation. I'm going to jump right into a game of 4v4 multiplayer, and we're going to see how that goes. We have a little bit of a connection error as we begin to start the game, but that's no problem. That'll get patched up real soon. And waiting for this to fix up now. There we go. This is European Escalation is a game that came out fairly recently. It's not that much of a online following or anything, but it's a very ruse type game. It's a strategy. In many ways similar to Ruse, and basically what you do is you fight over these command points, like these reinforcement zones with the arrows going into them, and your in-game currency is your resource bar, which is in the top left corner of your screen. You'll see a number displayed there, which is used to basically buy all types of units. So basically all of the zones with the circles around them that do not have arrows into them will actually give you the resource points. Reinforcement zones will not. In the right corner, bottom right corner of your screen, you have a couple of options of things you can do with your camera, such as unit info, which if you click on that and then move your cursor over any unit, it will display the hit points and the speed and such. And more server lag as we begin. And basically what I've done here is I put out a couple of Abrams and some other tank and anti-air, some command vehicles. You need command vehicles to be stationary in these zones that you're trying to capture. Otherwise, you will not be able to capture them. And here, what me and my teammate are trying to do is I'm actually gonna bring in some Black Hawk Delta Force and Rangers, and I'm gonna go try to set up a defensive perimeter around Delta and Bravo, and he's gonna go take Juliet. Now Juliet is a reinforcement zone, which is how we're gonna get our units into Bravo and Delta quicker. Now here, everything in this game, it uses fuel, so in the bottom left corner of the screen is a forward operating base with a yellow bar, which is basically once a unit runs out of ammo or fuel, you have to either bring a supply vehicle to it, or you have to bring it to that forward operating base so it can resupply. Now I fast forwarded up until the battle had begun and the units have spawned. When your preliminary units that you place down before the battle begins, you do not have to wait for them to travel to their spawn point, but I'm going to move some of my units up to Bravo and some of them up to Delta as my partner advances to Juliet. Here you can see the Black Hawks flying in with the units, and you can get really close. I was really impressed with the level of detail that this game has. You could go from looking out in the satellite view to seeing everything on the map to getting up close and personal with any unit, and it really puts that extra level of detail in the game. And here we have a view of the unit info, where it will tell you the specifications of whatever unit your cursor is actually hovering over. Here we have the tanks and anti-air moving in on the main road. When you go to move your units, you can either just right click, which will allow them to take any path, or if you left click move fast, they will use roads, which roads make your units considerably faster. And here are my helicopters, they're dropping off their Delta Forces and Rangers. I'm going to fast forward again to where I have my defensive position set up, and I have my tanks are moving in. And here's a shot of my ally who's fighting, but my tanks are moving into currently for Delta. And I'm not doing too well. Getting heavy artillery fire coming from the enemy spawn. You can get really close to, you can see where the craters of the artillery shells are landing. It's really just, the amount of detail in this game is very, it's very amazing. Reminds me a lot of Runes. Here my tanks are actually using their alternative weapon, which are like heat-seeking missiles against the enemy tanks, but mine aren't doing too well at this point. We're kind of getting messed up. I'm going to fast forward here where I called in several groups of air support as my teammate and Juliet is not doing so well. And we're just going to watch my U's go to town on these unsuspecting infantry forces. And here in Delta, my tanks have actually been destroyed. We didn't do too well there, but here in Juliet is where I plan to make amends for messing up in Delta. And we're going to get in close. You can see the helicopters and they're about to fire their rockets. And just look at the destruction that's being imposed on this platoon of them. Eventually, when I brought my helicopters back to the operating base to supply, and I noticed that in the mid-right corner of the screen that the game clock is actually frozen, which is basically a sign that the game is crashing. Well, not the game itself, but the server is crashing. It's one of the only problems that I have with this game is you'll get that occasional game where you can't do anything. The game freezes basically, and you have no other option but to leave. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll I'll be sure to put out a couple more episodes.